Okay, we're finishing this shit today. Come on. Investigation, part 3. Somehow, the door to the cabin we were in ended up bolted after we made an emergency stop. Susato-san took a deep breath, then gently slid back the bolt. You! What are you doing in Miss Pavlova's quarters? Ah, you both look unhurt. Good. Yes, we're fine. Thank you. What on earth happened? We heard something about how we were going to collide with another ship. Yes, it appears to have been a false report, though. Oh, how did that happen? There was a dense fog outside, so it's extremely difficult to see. Someone must have thought we saw a ship ahead. This person obviously triggered the alarm, and that's why we made an emergency stop. So that's what happened. The killer killed the real killer, killed, Kazuma, then triggered the alarm to do an emergency stop, to lock the door, to create a locked-room mystery. Everything is chaos. Passengers are screaming. Crews are running everywhere. This first-class area is the only quiet part of the ship at the moment. Oh, I see. Someone triggered the alarm? Does that mean that someone pressed that button outside? Ah! You wicked intruder, dressed all in black. You are the devil! Sorry, me? I've been called a lot of things before, but devil is a first. You opened my traveling case. How could you? Ma'am, it was open when I came in here. What? No, we didn't touch it. That's right, Miss Pavlova. It was already open when we came into your cabin. Inspector. Yes? Arrest this man! I know he did it! He is a criminal! Is it not enough that he has killed a man? Duh! And he is stowaway as well! He vixen promises not to steal chicken! Do you believe? Take him away! He is a trespasser as well as everything else! Stowaway, trespass, kill him! She is right, you are devil! It doesn't look good, does it? There is a cell below deck. Throw him in! Tomorrow we talk in Hong Kong. Then we give you straight to police. Wait, a cell? Please, Inspector Hosonaga, is there nothing you can do? This is a Russian vessel. I really have no jurisdiction here. Well, they have no jurisdiction over me! I'm not Russian! After my last effort to appeal to the captain's good nature, I think I'm out of options. This is terrible. This is the real crisis. I've got to find a solution. Immediately! You gotta believe me. Miss Pavlova, can I get out? Listen, I'm sorry that we snuck in here without your permission, but get out now. We just needed to investigate here to help understand what happened to... I can't read this. It's no use. It's no use! She's not going to listen. I need to find someone who will. You've got yourself into a difficult situation here. I entered this cabin uninvited, I mean. Sorry, I was just so desperate to find a clue. I'm afraid there's really nothing more I can do to help you. If I push my luck any further, a punch to the face will be the least of my worries. I'm really sorry. I have to take responsibility for giving you the freedom to investigate Miss Pavlova's cabin. Now this has happened, I'll have to report to the captain at once. I really need some help here. I need a savior to rescue me from the crisis. Oh! What the? What are you doing up there? Mr. Sholmes? Naturally, I was analyzing what a weight of 20,000 rubles feels like on one's head. Have I not told you that as a detective, it is my business to know what other people do not? This isn't mere tomfoolery, my boy. Oh no. Well, why are you hanging from that hook before then?
Isn't it obvious? To properly assess the weight of the 20,000 rubles. Naturally, I wish to determine if it would bend that conceited-looking hook on the wall, so full of brag and bounce.
I never know whether to take this man seriously or not. Rubles isn't a unit of weight. You again. The great detective?
Inspector, I confess I've been looking for you. I have something to report to you most urgently.
Well, you might try looking for me somewhere other than the hook on the wall next time.
What is to report? Speak. An urgent report from a great detective can mean but one thing. Yes, the case of the curious murder that took place last night, here on this vessel, the steamship Boya.
Oh, SS stands for steamship. I thought it stood for state ship.
Has been solved. By me, naturally.
Oh my god, is it investigation? Is it, in the whole deduction time? It's deduction time.
Yes, I've eliminated all of the possibilities. No other explanations exist. So, allow me to illuminate all your minds. For I am about to reveal my great detective's greatly admired great deduction to the case. Ha! You have solved it. Even Hedgehog understands this case.
Sonic.
We all knew who was responsible for killing student boy this morning when we found criminal in wardrobe. It is this Norway, and he has handcuffs to prove it.
I didn't do it. I didn't do it. The trouble is, there doesn't appear to be anyone else who could have killed the victim. Because, as everyone knows, the cabin door was bolted shut from the inside. That means the culprit must be someone who was inside the cabin. Yes, it's what's called a locked room mystery in detective stories.
Locked room. That's his point.
The room was locked. Well, I can't deny that. There's no way the bolt could have been drawn across from outside the cabin.
Didn't you just... You are all quite mistaken. The cabin next door is not a so-called locked room at all.
What?
Oh yes, there's another entrance. An entrance used last night by the culprit in order to gain access to the cabin despite the bolted door.
What other entrance? We never discovered one.
Why, it gapes open-mouthed at you even as we speak. The ventilator, man!
The ventilator?
Ha 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 ha! You think this is funny? I cannot even put my arm through that hole.
That's because your arms are as thick as tree trunks.
You're suggesting that the culprit entered and left the victim's cabin through that tiny opening? It's not possible. But it is. And last night, the victim even witnessed the intruder in an act of passing through the ventilator.
Mr. Sholmes, do you mean... Are you referring to the words Kazuma-sama wrote in his diary? It's 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. 1:35 a.m. What looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill.
Precisely, my dear madam.
But what does it mean? What is this speckled band?
The answer to that particular conundrum is in this very cabin.
Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing?
There's a distinct element of danger, but fear not, I am ready. What I'm about to expose for y'all to see will shock you to your cores. Behold! Hey-ya!
Ah! What the? Oh!
Allow me to introduce you all to the bat, the speckled bat.
A snake?
Indubitably.
Mr. Sholmes, just one thing.
Pray, what troubles you?
Well, that snake isn't really speckled, is it? It looks more stripy, wouldn't you say? Yes, you're right. I think in this case, you'd have to call it the striped band, wouldn't you? So it wasn't a snake. Damn. Maybe it's the tiara. Heh.
You both see and observe with distinction. However, do you not think that is precisely the trap into which the culprit wishes you to fall?
Oh my goodness, really? It's a trap? How exactly? Turn off the lights, so maybe it's a glow in the dark.
I think perhaps it is time I explained my intricacies of my train of thought.
Your train of thought, it's more like a fucking highway loop.
Are you ready, Miss Pavlova?
I'm sorry for the young man who died, but that is all. His death has nothing to do with me. This whole thing has nothing to do with me.
There are two conclusions I have drawn from the facts. Number one, last night your friend infiltrated the victim's cabin.
Ah.
And number two, a safe friend was responsible for the victim losing his life.
No! Come on, do the deduction already. She's turned as white as a bowl of rice again. She's Russian. She's always white. Sholmes must be right. He's hit the nail on the head. This young woman's friend killed Mr. Asogi? Looks like he can't speak with that snake coiled around his head.
I would advise as little movement as possible, Seaman. You wouldn't want the fangs of that long friend in your neck. So, everyone, let us begin. Herlock Sholmes is proud to present his Logic and Reason Spectacular.
Finally. The Great Deduction. So this is what we're doing instead of a trial. Nice. Intruder's identity.
Miss Pavlova, moments ago you claimed the following. His death has nothing to do with me. This whole thing has nothing to do with me. Yet you cannot deceive yourself. Yes, when you recall those sort of events, your aching heart smarts with pain.
It's not her heart, it's her head.
And it is that very pain that evidences your inextricable link to the victim's death. So, we ask, what was the nature of this intruder that stole into the victim's cabin on that portentous night? Why, naturally, it was this friend with which you boarded this vessel, was it not? Ah, as I suspected, another telltale glance. Without doubt, your friend is the writhing serpent we see before us. And yet, that fact leaves us in a quandary. The victim's written observations on the night in question tell of a speckled band, whereas regrettably, this specimen's markings do not fit the description in any way. What explanation can we then give, pray? What is this sight that fell upon the victim's eyes last night?
No, don't look at me. This has nothing to do with any of this.
Oh, but it does. You have the answer to this quandary even now, hidden behind your back. Yes, that which you are trying but failing to conceal can only be the snake's soft skin. Evidently, after the subtle and horrible crime, this most deadly friend of yours shed its original skin. No?
I don't know what you were talking about.
Last night, through the ventilator visible in this cabin, your then speckled friend slithered next door. Using the bell cord on the other side as a bridge, the serpent silently descended into the victim's quarters. In the dim light, it appeared to the young gentleman who was about to lose his life as a speckled band. In summary, the nature of this friend of yours, which last night infiltrated the scene of the crime, is a rare breed of snake, whose markings change each time it softs its skin. A snake so dreadful, you can only imagine it would be found in the deepest depths of India.
Formerly speckled snake.
Moving on, we come to the heart of the matter, the grim demise of this victim. How did this young man lose his life, and why? According to the data of which I have been apprised, it would appear there were no visible signs of injury. In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by a terrible venom. Now, if we take that as fact, we can reasonably imagine that there remains evidence to affirm it at the scene of the crime.
Oh no, could there be?
Yes, an examination of the deceased body will prove the cause of death conclusively. The almost, but not quite, imperceptible puncture wounds left by the venomous fangs will seal the truth. Yes, the vestiges of the snake bite delivered by your terrifying friend.
This makes no sense.
There is no point feigning ignorance, Miss Pavlova. After the incident, you endeavored to hide everything, didn't you? But now your involuntary glance betrays the hiding place you chose. That's right. You hid the evidence that links you to the victim's death in that traveling case.
The snake.
When we first met in this cabin, it came to my attention that your case moved periodically. Your serpent assassin was restless inside, no doubt.
You don't...
It is telling that the victim made note of a low whistling sound that he heard minutes before his end. That was your signal, was it not? The sound you had used to train your serpent friend.
To train?
Indeed, you'd put the serpent through this ventilator and wait. After a period, you'd summon it back with a whistle. You couldn't know if the animal had done its duty, so you would listen for signs of life next door. If the victim appeared not to have been dispatched, you'd release the snake once more. Do you deny the snake has undergone such training?
It's not true.
Having slid through the ventilator and down the bell cord, the creature needed only to sink its fangs in once. And its venom would course through the victim's veins, ending his existence forever.
Don't know if I said this before, but this is a lot like a class trial. Someone else makes a bunch of claims and you have to shoot him down. No, that's wrong.
That is the true nature of the speckled band that took the poor young man's life. There can be no doubt. My logic is infallible.
I gotta say, this deduction, way better. This was way better than his previous deduction, because this is also the conclusion that I came to.
Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deductions of the speckled band.
Okay, time for a peer review.
Miss Pavlova has trained her pet snake as a killing machine. There on the floor, you will observe a saucer of milk. The promise of food is the key to training any creature.
Incredible! You've solved the mystery. Amazing. Your great deduction really lives up to its name. I see now why Sherlock Holmes has become such a household name.
My dear man, it was nothing remarkable. As the Russians say, I could have done it with one left hand.
Is something the matter? Could I venture an opinion, Mr. Sholmes?
But of course. What's on your mind?
It's just... about your deductions before, some things don't quite make sense to me.
I welcome questions as to my method. And will answer both loudly and proudly.
Yeah. I like this guy. I was annoyed by him at first, but, like, yeah, he seems very... He's, like... Well, good. First of all, like, he takes failures in stride. Because failure is the best teacher. Snakes are egg-laying creatures, part of the reptile family.
You are well informed, madame.
And reptiles, don't drink milk.
Really?
Yeah. It's really only mammals that like to drink milk, you see. So, I'm not sure it would be possible to train a snake using milk as a reward.
No matter. No doubt Miss Pavlova used some other treat to encourage her pet to do her bidding. Milk was merely an example. Logic holds.
It's true. Well, there is something else. Snakes have no ears. What? But then how do they hear other snakes? Yes, so I'm not sure it would be really possible to signal a snake by whistling.
But madame, what of the tales from Arabia?
Da-da-dee-da-doo, da-da-dee-da-dee-da-doo.
Have you not heard of the snakes that dance to the sounds of flute?
Da-da-dee-da-doo, da-da-dee-da-dee-da-doo, da-da-dee-da-doo, da-da-dee-da-dee-da-doo, da-da. I think perhaps the performers play their music in time with the snake's natural movements. Oh, I see.
No hands, no feet, no ears? These creatures are so inept as to be practically useless.
Yeah. Who was the bastard? It's God's punishment. God took away their legs. Don't take it out on the snakes, Mr. Sholmes. Yeah. File a complaint with God, who took away ears and legs from snakes. There is one other thing.
You have more?
Just thinking of the twist, like, I gave a snake prosthetic legs, and it's like, the reply, you would undo God's punishment. Snakes use the scales on their bellies to propel themselves. So, I'm not really sure that a snake could manage to climb up a flat bell cord like the ones in these cabins.
Then it should try harder.
It's like, I really like this guy. Please don't be angry with me, Mr. Sholmes. I don't think this guy is capable of being angry. Only cocky. Even if the snake had gone through the ventilator to the next door cabin, it couldn't have come back without help. What I'm trying to say is that there are a number of reasons why it's difficult to imagine the snake could have had a part in this. It was still a great deduction. Horlock pats his head. I think we need to step in and help again, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, no, you don't... No, this is great. This is probably my favorite part about this game so far. We need to modify Sir Sholmes' latest deductions and turn them into the great ones they ought to be. I had a feeling that was coming. Alright, let's give it a try.
Just what I was waiting for, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, right.
So, cast your eyes down to your wrists again.
What? Ah. You've done it again. Your handcuffs are gone. Where did they go?
Fear not. I shall see they're restored after our work is done.
I really wish you'd leave them off.
Now, everyone, let us begin.
Oh, he only said he will see them restored. Didn't say he would see them restored to my arms. His logic and reasoning is spectacular. And also Naruhodo-san. Hold it, Mr. Holmes.
Miss Pavlova, moments ago you claimed the following. His death has nothing to do with me. This whole thing is nothing to do with me. Yet you cannot deceive yourself.
Oh?
Yes, when you recall those horrid events, your aching heart smarts with pain.
No, that's wrong! She does have a pained expression on her face. Yes, that's true. She looks as though Cosmo-sama's death is weighing heavily on her mind. But you're not sure Mr. Sholmes has read her quite correctly, is that it? Could there be some other way to interpret her expression, then? Let's take a moment and really look closely at Pavlova. I imagine, does she have a bump on her? Oh! A claw. Oh, Naruhodo-san, look! That looks like a very painful wound. It looks like a scratch made by some kind of small animal. And fairly recently, too. Well, whatever scratched her doesn't appear to be around here. So what's that?
Yes.
Yes, when you recall those horrid events, that claw scratch smarts with pain.
Indeed, and simple observation reveals that the wound is fresh.
Oh!
Miss Pavlova, did you in fact receive that scratch? Sometime last...
Oh, that was... Okay. Sometime last night? When I think about the young man who died next door, I feel so sad. And when I am sad, the pain from this wound is worse.
and it is that very pain that evidences your inextricable link to the victim's death. So, we ask, what was the nature of this intruder that stole into the victim's cabin on that portentous night? Why, naturally, it was the friend with which you boarded this vessel, was it not? As I suspected, another telltale glance. Without doubt, your friend is the Rhythm Serpent we see before us.
It's not a snake. It seems likely that the scratch mark on the back of Miss Pavlova's hand was made by this friend of hers, doesn't it? But snakes don't have claws. Except, snakes don't have claws, do they? No, they don't. They don't even have hands or feet on which claws might grow. Damn you! Creator of snakes! Well then, if that snake isn't her pet, what is? What's the true identity of this friend of hers? We should follow her gaze, Naruhodo-san. That's where we'll find the answer. Right. So she's not looking there, she's looking... Oh! Her cat is missing! Aw, look at the photograph in this frame. This must be something Miss Pavlova brought with her when she ran away. She's exceptionally beautiful, isn't she? Yes, that's true. But personally, it's the little black creature she's holding that's caught my eye. Maybe we'd better take a closer look at this. It's the kitty cat. Look at the little cat Miss Pavlova's cuddling here. Oh, what a cute little kitten. It could vie with you, couldn't it, Naruhodo-san? For the blackest outfit. A black kitten. And from the look of this picture, at least, Miss Pavlova seems very attached to it. It's the cat. I don't know why the controls. Without doubt, your friend is the little kitten we see before us.
Yes. The scratch on the back of your hand makes that abundantly clear.
Oh, no. The whereabouts of this black kitten isn't clear, but what is clear is that you brought this animal with you when you ran away, didn't you? Ah! That would explain the saucer, which could contain milk, but cats don't drink milk. At least they don't drink, the milk that we drink, because cats are lactose intolerant. You could probably give a cat soy milk, or goat milk. Darka is my best friend. I couldn't leave her behind.
Darka would appear to be a Russian blue.
Well,
and yet, that fact leaves us in a quandary. The victim's written observations on the night in question tell of a speckled band. Whereas, regrettably, this specimen's markings do not fit that description in any way. What explanation can we then give, pray? What was this sight that fell upon the victim's eyes last night?
No, don't look at me. This has nothing to do with any of this.
Oh, but it does. You have the answer to this quandary even now, hidden behind your back. Yes, that which you are trying but failing to conceal can only be the snake's soft skin.
That ain't skin, buddy. Did you see that? She just took something out of her pocket and hid it behind her back. If she just left it in her pocket, no one would ever have known. Oh yes, toys like that are Mr. Sholmes' specialty. He's ever so cleverly forced her to reveal something. I thought deduction was a specialty. Or maybe making me believe that was a ploy too. Anyway, I find it hard to believe that's the skin of a snake. But nah, Sholmes' deductions are exactly how Phoenix Wright makes wild accusations. See what sticks. In which case, just what is Miss Pavlova hiding behind her back? That... Let's examine that. Well, it is speckled, and it is a band, but... What is it? It seems to be soft and fluffy, a long piece of cloth of some sort. And that looks like a handle at one end. I think it may be a cat's toy. This sort is common in the West, apparently. How is that a toy for cats? Cats like to chase the band around and paw at it. Kittens in particular love that sort of play. I thought it was a scarf. You only need to wave it in front of them, and they pounce to catch it. That sounds positively adorable. So it's not... Okay.
Yes!
Yes, the thing that you are trying but failing to conceal is, a cat's toy.
Precisely. And the true nature of the now infamous speckled band. And it was this toy that you dangled through the ventilator.
In an attempt to get your cat...
You waved it around, I presume. Naturally, the victim could not fail to notice it.
But why? For what reason?
My dear boy, there can only be one answer to that. After her feline friend disappeared through the ventilator into the neighboring cabin, Miss Pavlova attempted to use the speckled cat's toy to incite the creature to return.
Ah.
In summary, the nature of this friend of Miss Pavlova's, which last night infiltrated the scene of the crime, is a blithesome Russian blue breed of cat by the name of Daka.
Yeah.
A truly troublesome feline young Daka has proven to be. She must be caged once found. You will forgive us for borrowing the photograph of your pet, Miss Pavlova.
It's still there, what? It was after I gave her her food last night. That's when it happened. She scratched the back of my hand and then ran up the bell cord. Before I could do anything, she had disappeared through the ventilator. Darka, she is so naughty.
Moving on, we come to the heart of the matter, the grim demise of the victim. How did this young man lose his life, and why? According to the data of which I've been apprised, it would appear there were no visible signs of injury.
No, that's wrong! Ah.
In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by a terrible venom.
No, that's wrong! What Mr. Sholmes says is true. There were no signs of a wound anywhere on Cosmo-sama's body. That's right. But Mr. Sholmes seems to be unaware of one very important detail. Cosmo wasn't poisoned. Yes, it would seem so. Let's give him the information he's missing now. Yes, if we would just take a look at this motherfucking updated autopsy report! Finally, I'm the one showing the autopsy report. In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by the post-mortem report.
Ah yes, I knew it was one or the other.
His neck was...
Indeed, the break-in of the cervical vertebrae is fatal. Only that Goliath would be strong enough to survive that.
Seaman Stroganoff isn't some immortal freak, you know. Yeah, you're thinking of Rasputin.
The jury is out. Anyway, we have on good authority that the victim's neck was broken. Now, if we take that as fact, we can reasonably imagine that there remains evidence to affirm at the scene of the crime.
Oh no, could there be?
Yes, an examination of the deceased's body will prove the cause of death conclusively.
Cosmo died because his neck was broken. In other words, he was probably struck by something, or someone. Yes, that's a distinct possibility. As of yet, no weapon has been found, though. Presumably Darka didn't silently creep up behind Cosmo and deal him a fatal blow. I suppose it's possible that he had a fall and hit the ground awkwardly. It could have been a terrible act of misfortune that he broke his neck completely by accident. What a boring way to die. Ah, yes, a bad fall could explain it. It's rather hard to believe of Cosmo-sama, though. He wasn't a clumsy man. Well, we need to fix this deduction somehow. Is there anything from the scene that could explain what happened? It could be this.
Yes!
Booyah. Yes! An examination of the mark on the floor will prove the cause of death conclusively.
This particular mark, so precisely so prominently visible next to the victim's body, is a deposit of shoe polish.
Shoe polish?
Indeed. Positively identified by a little analysis device I constructed, which I carry now as a matter of course.
Oh my god, forensic investigation.
Beeswax, tallow, and dye were my results. The undeniable ingredients of shoe polish.
And the color of the shoe polish is a perfect match to the color of Mr. Asogi's laced leather shoes. Looking at this mark, it's not hard to imagine what happened. For some reason, Mr. Asogi must have caught his foot at that point on the floor and tripped. Please, no. And by a dreadful turn of misfortune, caught his neck against some immovable object as he fell to the floor, suffering a fatal blow to the spine. The victim's vertebrae shattered, and in that instant, he lost his life. No! I don't know. I don't know anything about this. Is that really true, Miss Pavlova? What about the evidence left at the scene where Mr. Asogi lost his life?
Yes, the facts are as clear as day to me. You did all you could to conceal the incriminating evidence. But now your involuntary glance betrays the hiding place you chose. That's right. You were the evidence that links you to the victim's death in that traveling case.
I don't believe it. Cosmo-sama merely tripped over and now he's no more? It can't be true. I refuse to accept it. I know it's hard to believe, but the mark on the floor doesn't seem to suggest that's what happened. And if this part of Mr. Sholmes' deduction is right, Miss Pavlova is trying to hide some evidence that would prove it. Here in this cabin, somewhere in the direction that she just cast her eyes. Where, I wonder? Let's have a good look around. The answer must be here somewhere. It could be the tiara. Like last time. Ah, somebody appears to have dropped 20,000 rubles here. It hasn't been dropped, Naruhodo-san. It's been placed. I'm starting to sound like Mr. Sholmes. Stop trying to sound like a great detective. Those notes. This box. We sure there's nothing in here? This is a waste paper basket. Perhaps all the first-class cabins have them. But Miss Pavlova only started occupying this cabin late last night. Presumably there's not much rubbish in here yet. Oh, what's that? How come you missed that last time? It's a broken piece of glass, isn't it? Yes, it is. And I feel like I've seen it somewhere before. If it looks familiar, perhaps it's more than your mind is simply playing tricks on you. Yeah, the fucking waste paper basket. That's right. You hid the evidence that links you to the victim's death in that waste paper basket.
Here we have a fragment of some intricate glass object, it would seem. One that has a familiar air, in fact.
Precisely. We found another piece of broken glass on the floor in Mr. Asogi's cabin. And as you can see, the two pieces fit together perfectly. Oh no.
So, Miss Pavlova, shall we consider what this tells us? Why would it be that part of this glass object, which was evidently broken at the scene of the victim's death, should be found in the waste paper basket in your cabin?
Yeah.
You are well acquainted with this glass bell, are you not?
I
don't know, in that hushed Russian accent of yours won't save you this time, dear girl. Why? Because we have conclusive evidence linking you to the bell in question.
What?
Take it away, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes. The evidence linking Miss Pavlova and the old glass bell, that would be...
Yes!
If you look at this photograph, you can clearly see, hanging from Darka's collar, the very glass bell in question.
The truth has caught up with you, Miss Pavlova. The young man who lost his life last night did so after a truly inauspicious fall.
And the cause of that fateful stumble... Your absent feline friend, Darka. He tripped on a bell. That's hardly a crime. But I would understand why she would feel guilt over that. I couldn't tell anyone. I'm sorry. A cat tripping over a cat. Oh, hope the cat's okay. Zavari. Why don't you tell us now, Miss Pavlova? Tell us exactly what happened last night. It was a little after 1 in the morning. It was so late, but I hadn't had time to feed Darka, so I gave her some food. And then, all of a sudden, she scratched me and jumped out of my hands. People do say that cats become very anxious and nervous in new environments. She was so fast, she disappeared through the ventilator before I could stop her.
And that is how you acquired the rather nasty wound on the back of your hand, I take it?
Yes, and I had read the rules on the wall. I knew that I was not allowed Darka with me. Yes, modern science suggests that animals can carry infectious diseases. It's a precaution, really. So I listened and listened, trying to hear if there was some noise in the next cabin. It's a crime that people can't take their pets with them when they travel. Someone's gotta fix that. It was very quiet. I was sure if someone was there, he must be sleeping. So at that point,
you thought it safe to try to lure the kitten back again? By dangling the end of the toy through the ventilator and into the adjoining cabin.
Darka always loves this toy, but it didn't work. Nothing worked. I tried using her favorite toy. I tried whistling to her softly, but nothing. She didn't return. So the faint whistling sound Cosmo wrote about in his diary was Miss Pavlova trying to retrieve her pet. Cats have a propensity to remain hidden in the shadows when frightened. Yes. So there was nothing else I could do. I just had to wait until she had calmed down. But then... I nearly passed out with shock. I heard her cry out, and then... Oh, it was such a dreadful bang. Then afterwards, nothing. It was totally silent. Cosmo was... From the appearance of the brown mark on the floor, it seems likely that what you heard was the victim stepping on the glass bell and tripping up. The SS Borea is a large vessel, but even she can pitch and roll violently without warning. If Mr. Asogi was already off balance as a result of the chip lurching when the kitten got under his feet, the combination of unfortunate factors could easily have caused him to fall over. But what became of the kitten afterwards? In the end, I managed to get her to come back through the ventilator. Yet
Darka is nowhere to be seen.
I must have forgotten to lock my case, and now she's disappeared again.
Gracious, that cat is as insufferably restless as I am.
Well, he knows something about himself, at least. When I woke this morning, I heard that the young man in the cabin next to mine had died, but I couldn't bring myself to tell anyone what had happened. I was too scared. Scared that they would send me back. Oh, hold on a minute. What about the snake? You're right. Where is it? If the snake isn't your friend, Miss Pavlova, then whose is it? And where did it come from? The snake was a red herring. No, it was a snake. What on earth is such a dangerous creature doing on board this ship?
Oh, I didn't say. Snake is my friend. His name is Pirosko.
What? I hate this guy. That snake belongs to you?
He escaped from cage when emergency alarm sounded. I was looking for him. I did not expect to find him in here.
Yes, how did that snake get into this cabin? But animals are not permitted on board!
Ha! We are at sea for 1 year. You want to be so long with that close friend? Without someone who understands?
Couldn't you find someone a little more human who understands you better?
But my dear burly fellow, a gangan true and venomous snake, surely you can appreciate the danger you're putting everyone in.
No venom.
Burosco does not have venom. He is harmless, very long but very gentle. He is adorable like Granny.
It's venomless.
Yes, now he is someplace, so he's in bad mood. But once I feed him, you will see a big smile.
And you feed him what? Milk, I suppose?
Ha! Like they say, milk chickens. Ridiculous. Snakes that drink milk are only in stupid stories. Roscoe eats mouses. Big fat round mouses.
Oh, so... Is that what the mousetrap in the passageway out there is for?
Of course. How else can I fetch my friend's favorite food?
Nothing says top of the food chain like the look in their eyes right now. Don't feed your snakes live mouses. That's just inhumane. Feed them frozen mouses.
It refuses to drink milk. It can't hear a whistle. It can't climb up a bell cord, and it's not even venomous. How the deuce did something so inept land a star and roll? It is not my fault. I do not make up stories. My Perosco has nothing to do with this incident.
So that's what happened. That's the truth behind my best friend's tragic death? He tripped over a cat. Yeah, that is pretty anticlimactic. Miss Pavlova, I understand the difficult situation you found yourself in, and I do sympathize, but please remember this. A young man lost his life. If you're going to attempt to cover up your guilt with lies, then no matter what the circumstances, I cannot forgive you. But what are you talking about, Miss Mikotova? What lies? Miss Pavlova just confessed everything. It was just a series of unfortunate events. An accident. I'm no great detective like Mr. Sholmes. I don't have a gift for knowing the truth. But even I can see that was not the truth. Don't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo? I don't know what you're talking about. To be perfectly honest, yes. There's a discrepancy in Miss Pavlova's story, I'm sure of it. I just can't quite put my finger on it.
I confess, I was intending to let Scotland Yard deal with any outstanding issues on this matter.
Oh.
I am only present here for a very specific reason. The truth is, you, Mr. Naruhodo, are simply a distraction.
A distraction?
I do hope you've not been finding your shackles too uncomfortable.
You fucker. Not again. When did he do that?
Especially as they're on your wrist as a result of my intervention. I was rather hoping I could resolve matters before we made our next port call.
You were Mr. Sholmes?
Yes, but I overlooked one important detail. The deceased young man was a very close companion of yours. Was he not?
Yes. Kazuma was my closest friend. I owed him my freedom, even.
In that case, we must follow this to its conclusion. No further distractions. We must uncover the real truth here, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes. Whatever that may be. The key to this is the discrepancy in Miss Pavlova's story, I'm sure. If I can chase that down, maybe the truth will become clear. The truth about how you really died. The truth about how that scene in your cabin really came to be. Wait a minute. All right, I'll see what I can do.
Excellent.
Thank you, Mr. Naruhodo.
So then, shall we begin?
Yes.
What should we ponder first? Is the victim who lost his life in a cabin and was bolted shut from the inside? Was this truly an unfortunate accident? Or was it in fact no accident at all? That is what we must establish in the first instance.
Well, we've already established it, haven't we? The man tripped over the kitten that had climbed into his cabin via the ventilator. Tragic, yes, but still an accident.
Hold it!
Wait, let's just take a step back. It doesn't make sense if that's really what happened, does it? I'm going to have to ask you to spell it out for me, I'm afraid. Yes, it's starting to take shape now. There's a clear contradiction between the facts and Miss Pavlova's story here. The evidence is right there in Kazuma's cabin. It's undeniable. His death couldn't possibly have been a mere accident. Ah, really?
Let us show our hand, Mr. Naruto. Time to present the evidence. The evidence that proves unequivocally that the victim's death was no mere accident.
Oh, Lord. Let me just examine this. Broken in half. A strong blow. I doubt falling over would cause that. Think a man just happens to fall like that? He orchestrated it. He said it was inside his cabin, so... Why would he write that? Let me say first.
Yes!
Come on. The truth is clearly recorded in this photographic print. Booyah. There's no way that Mr. Sogi could have left this message on the floor. That's script. It's Russian, isn't it?
Indeed it is. The word written means wardrobe.
I see what you mean. Most people would leave a dying message in their native language. Japanese in this case. But maybe he was studying Russian. It is a simple language. He could have picked it up very fast. Doesn't seem likely. That's actually not the point. It makes no difference whether he knew Russian or not. Sorry? What do you mean? Exactly what I said before. There's no way that Mr. Asogi could have left this message on the floor. And the reason why is clearly explained in here. Damage to the cervical vertebrae resulting in instant death. He died instantly. Instant death. Ha! Which means, after the victim fell to the floor, he couldn't possibly have written anything. Because he was already dead. That's not the only reason either. There's something else we found in Mr. Asogi's cabin. A remnant of something that couldn't possibly have been there, if what Miss Pavlova told us is true. What? So Susato-san has noticed it too, then. Putting this message on the floor aside, there's something else that gives the truth away. Another piece of evidence that proves this was no accident. In other words, it was... Was it the mark on the floor? But no, that's a scuff mark. Kazuma's diary, article about Ballerina, crime scene, photograph. There was no accident. Article about the ballerina. I have to go with... Save. What proves that there wasn't an accident? Article about Revolutionary. Cosmos Diary. Let's go with, Diary?
Yes!
That I'd have doubt. What point are you trying to make with that evidence? I don't want... Dude, you're embarrassing me in front of Sherlock Holmes. Okay, it's gotta be this.
Yes!
Nope. Come on. I've had enough of this shit in the Phoenix Wright games. I don't want to save some. Save scum.
Yes!
No, wait. I already presented that.
Yes!
Seriously, it was that? Huh. This piece of broken glass next to the mark on the floor. But that's the glass spell the kitten had around its neck. We already know all about that. It was broken in half when the victim tripped over the cat and fell. So we already have a satisfactory explanation. Where's the flaw in that logic? Unfortunately, there was a very big flaw. A fatal flaw. What? If that's really what happened, then how did one half of the bell end up back here in this cabin? I'm an idiot. Yes, remember that we found the other half of the glass bell in that paper basket? Would you care to explain that, Miss Pavlova? Oh no. Both these pieces of evidence clearly point to the same conclusion. That when Mr. Asogi died last night in this cabin, there was someone else in the room. And that same person deliberately arranged the scene to disguise the truth, in order to cover up his or her own guilt. Yes, there was someone else present in Mr. Asogi's...
You are wasting time. Someone else was there. Duh, of course, we know this.
What are you talking about?
Bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. There was no way in or out.
Oh, yes. Objection.
And only other person in cabin when young student died was you.
Yes!
It's true, I was in the cabin when it happened.
You were shut inside the cabin wardrobe, to be precise about the details.
But I don't know Russian. There's no way I would have left that message.
Not would have. There's no way you could have left that message, to be precise about the details.
Would you mind?
Forgive me, my dear fellow.
As I was saying, the person in question wrote the word wardrobe in Russian on the floor, in an attempt to incriminate me for the crime, even though I had been asleep in there the entire time. You slept through all that? And then the same person picked up the broken glass bell that had fallen onto the floor, for fear of it becoming evidence that would show how Mr. Asogi really died. But why wouldn't this person have taken all the pieces of the bell away? Leaving half behind was always going to raise questions. Yes, well,
It was past 1 o'clock in the early hours of the morning. The cabin would have been quite dark. The single small lamp suspended from the ceiling would barely have cast any light onto the floor there. Little wonder, then, that the culprit failed to notice a fragment of the tiny item.
You all suspect me, don't you? Seaman Stroganoff.
Nina is woman of sea. She is daughter, a strong sailor. 2 years ago, they noticed her dancing skills and she went away to join ballet company. But before, she was dancer on this ship, a member of ship's band. You do not accuse Ship's Angel of being criminal.
Ah, so that's it.
You say that when the young student died, Nina was there in his cabin. But that is not possible. I give my tooth. Well, this is all most interesting. And why would you give your tooth, pray? How can you be so sure? You're a great detective. You should know. Look through the night. Cabin bolted was bolted shut from inside. Nobody could go into cabin. Not Nina, not no one. Or you want to tell me that killer can walk through locked doors? Yet, it's impossible.
He's right. But wait, I read about this in detective stories. People often tie thread around door latches so they can open and close them from the outside. Oh, right. Okay, so there's actually 4 solutions to a locked room mystery. The killer is still in the room, the killer left through a secret passageway, the killer left while the body was discovered, or the killer locked the room from the outside.
Thread, are you stupid? These bulkheads are not barn doors.
Certainly not.
These are watertight doors, as one would expect to find on any modern steamship. Constructed of heavy steel, with not a gap in sight. No threads or needles or magnets could have been used.
No, of course not. I thought so too. But Mr. Naruhodo suggested it earlier, so... Susato-san, how could you shift it onto me like that? So Seaman Stroganoff has a valid point. The cabin door couldn't have been bolted shut from the outside.
Not necessarily.
What?
I put it to you that I could not bolt this cabin door without laying a finger on it. And in this very cabin, we can see the traces of the method I have in mind having been used before.
I don't believe it. I know what.
Well, Mr. Naruhodo, I believe you know what I mean, don't you?
A way to shut the bolt of the cabin door from the outside. One way does spring to mind, yes. Do you really know what Mr. Sholmes means, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, and so should you. Because we've seen it happen.
Indeed we have. So, would you care to do the honors, Mr. Naruhodo?
Point out the telling signs of the method that was used to slide the cabin door across from the outside.
Yes!
Look at the bookcase there. See how all the books and things on it have toppled over? That must have happened when the ship made its emergency stop before. Yes, that's right. It's a very powerful vessel, after all. When the engines are thrown into reverse, a violent jolt goes across the entire ship. Any small objects that aren't fastened down are bound to fall over. I believe... yes, it's what's known as the force of inertia, acting on the objects. Is there nothing Susato-san doesn't know? Or that isn't in her book, at least. Well, whatever it's called, same force that pushed over those books on the bookcase. It also made something else in this cabin move. The bolt on the cabin door. Ah! It was very obvious just after the emergency stop that the ship made earlier. We had come into this cabin not long before, and we hadn't bolted the door. But then... oh yes. That's it. When the ship stopped suddenly, the bolt flew across and locked the door. Yes, it's made of metal, but it's small and light enough to be moved by the ship's sudden change of speed. Or the force of inertia, if you want to call it that. Are you trying to say that last night, after Mr. Asogi was killed... Oh. The SS Furia made another emergency stop? When I woke up this morning and looked around the cabin, I thought it looked a little odd. All the books on the shelves have toppled over, and all the ornaments. It was almost as if someone had run their hand across the shelves and deliberately knocked everything over. Oh yes, I remember that. And I stood them all up again, didn't I? Then when we came into this cabin, we were surprised to see the same thing in here. All the books and everything had toppled over, just like in Mr. Asogi's cabin. Oh my! Do you have anything to say about this, Miss Pavlova?
Are you out of your mind? You say Boria made emergency stop.
It does seem a little far-fetched. How could that possibly have happened? Unless you're saying that the culprit is actually someone from the engine room.
Oh, it is simple enough. Are you forgetting the button in the passageway outside, used to trigger the emergency alarm?
Oh yes, of course. There was a notice, wasn't there, telling you only to press the button in times of emergency. On dark nights when the fog is dense, the captain cannot afford to rely on the eyes of his lookout alone. Hence the placement of a number of buttons around the vessel to allow any crewman to raise the alarm.
The sort of button one is almost compelled to press to satisfy one's curiosity. Wait, it was you? When the button is pressed, two things happen in the interest of safety. The emergency alarm bell rings, and the vessel comes to a complete stop. As indeed it did a little earlier today.
Mr. Sholmes, surely it wasn't you who...
As I always say, a button has but one purpose in life. To be pressed, whatever the occasion.
He sounds almost proud of himself.
How dare you mess with Jim? I report you to Captain. You are in much trouble now. No, I'm sure all that can wait until later. Let us not overlook the fact that we have now learnt a valuable lesson. When the vessel makes an emergency stop, the bolts on the cabin doors slide closed. So, what we must now consider...
Yes, it all comes down to one thing now. Last night, after what happened to Mr. Asogi... I am so still on and... What, did this ship make an emergency stop, or did it not?
You're idiots. Burley is a huge ship with many passengers. If you make emergency stop, even in the middle of night, there will be chaos everywhere.
What are your thoughts, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, it's certainly possible that some kind of emergency happened last night. We have evidence to support that idea. Really? What evidence, Mr. Naruhodo? I have the evidence. Come on.
Fascinating. Do show us, my good man. What evidence promotes the theory that some emergency gripped this vessel last night?
This.
Yes!
Seaman Stroganov. It's your duty to patrol the first-class area of the ship, isn't that right? That is correct. Right. And the ship's log here, this would be where you record the details of your duties?
What are you doing with that? That is mine. Ah, you rather carelessly left it atop the little makeshift burrow in the passageway up there. But as responsible passengers, we took it into our care with a mind to return it to you later. I left it there on purpose. That is where I put it always.
The point is, looking at what you usually record, it's clear that under normal circumstances, you write the phrase nothing to report every 30 minutes. But from 2 o'clock last night until first light this morning, nothing was recorded at all. Nothing recorded in the log?
That is... because nothing happened.
But if nothing happened, you would normally write nothing to report, wouldn't you? Indeed so, which tells us that shortly after 2 a.m., something happened, here aboard the SS Buria. Something sufficiently significant to make you forget to fill in the ship's log, in fact. Are you suggesting that the ship really did make an emergency stop in the middle of the night?
Stop talking rubbish.
If I'm perfectly honest, I find that a little hard to believe myself. Oh? Why? Well, because if something as major as an emergency stop had really happened, surely all of us would have noticed. That's very true. Thanks to the emergency stop we experienced earlier, we all know what it feels like now. The ship lurched so violently, and the alarm bell was so loud. I can't imagine that anybody would sleep through that, even if it happened in the dead of night. Well, no. That's a good point.
What of the throbbing?
Sorry? What do you mean?
Your head, man. The throbbing of your head since this morning. We all have suffered with it.
Ah! Oh, yes. I have had a headache, you're right. We were all knocked out. In fact, I haven't been feeling myself since I woke up today. Nor have I. My head has been feeling heavy ever since dawn.
Yes, you've all been afflicted, haven't you? Just as I suspected.
He's right. My head's been throbbing today, too. And since eating dinner yesterday evening, everything has felt sort of hazy. I can't really remember anything that happened after I climbed back inside the wardrobe. Then the first thing I noticed this morning was the throbbing pain in my head. I had already been dragged out of the wardrobe and had those handcuffs put on me by that point. Why didn't I wake up when all that was happening to me?
Tell me, Mr. Naruhodo, you boarded this vessel as a stowaway, didn't you?
Oh, well, yes, sorry.
The stowaway class of accommodation doesn't usually include meals. What did you survive on?
Ah, well, Cosmo looked after me. He was always happy to share his meals.
So you enjoyed some of the whole roast chicken dish that was served yesterday evening, I take it?
Whole roast chicken, that's a lot of food. Yes, in fact, I had all of that. Cosmo wasn't fond of chicken. You ate a whole roast chicken?
Oh, really? So the victim didn't eat any of the chicken at all?
That's right, he didn't touch it. Is that relevant?
My dear fellow, does that not strike you?
Oh! Mr. Sholmes, do you mean to say that there was something wrong with the chicken?
I do.
No, really? Is that really true?
The meal prepared for passengers last night had been tampered with. Tampered with by the addition of a sulfuric designed to induce a very deep slumber in those who consumed it.
Oh my god, the throbbing head pain, it's a hangover! A sleeping drug? Do you mean whoever did this laced every meal with a sleeping drug so no one would notice the ship's emergency stop? Mr. Naruhodo, of course that's not what Mr. Sholmes means. What a far-fetched idea.
Precisely. Lacing every meal of every passenger on board with a sulfuric drug would certainly be impossible. Unless, that is, every single member of the crew was a conspirator.
What? Mr. Sholmes!
Well, Seaman. I'm sorry to say that any more assumption in this matter will get you nowhere. If you refuse to talk, there would have to be an inquiry made to the shipping company, of course. And were that to happen, every member of the crew, and the captain himself, would be hauled over the coals. For aiding and abetting a renegade.
Oh my god, he's the communist! Please, no more. I will tell everything. I cannot make problems like this for everyone anymore.
These crewmen are your former comrades, I believe.
Comrades. Yes, so when I decided to run away, I asked them to help me.
We all agreed to help. Everyone together. To do everything, the fame in the ballet, Mother Russia. We wanted to help our angel.
I don't believe it.
You are right. We put sleeping drug in chicken last night.
Yes, I remember now. I did notice chewing on a lump of something strange and bitter at one point. I think that was a bone.
Da, we cannot make all drug. How you say, dissolve?
Talk about heavy seasoning.
At midnight, in waters near Slangcott, we brought our angel on board. She was helped by comrade on shore with small fishing boat.
While all the passengers of the SS Boreas slept soundly.
Sure, because comrade is not a Russian word. It originated from France.
You know, French Revolution, comrades. I think it was either France or Germany. No, in Germany it's kamerad, which is similar.
Thanks to the almost magical effects of the slumber-inducing potion evening meals had contained.
So, if that's what happened, then again, it's an apolitical word. The only people awake on the ship last night were the crew, people who dislike chicken, and the newly boarded passenger, Miss Pavlova. Man, I could really go for a roast chicken right now. And that means it would have been possible for you. You could have used the emergency stop trick to lock Cosmo's cabin door. But how does that make sense? Surely every cabin door would have ended up locked in that case, and there would have been complete chaos.
Oh, I wouldn't say so.
What? Ah, of course! Just like us, all the other passengers would have eaten their evening meal of chicken in their cabins. Afterwards, they would have been overwhelmed by tiredness because of the sleeping drug.
Quite. And accordingly, all passengers were already in their cabins for the night.
Yes.
The overwhelming majority of passengers would habitually sleep with their cabin doors bolted anyway. And so not one of them would have found it remarkable to find the door locked in the morning. In summary, in order to fasten the bolt of a single cabin door on the ship, The culprit brought the entire vessel to emergency stop in the early hours of the morning.
You have talked a long time and said many things. What is point?
The point is what I said earlier. There was somebody else present on the scene when the victim lost his life last night. Someone who left a message in Russian on the floor in an attempt to incriminate another. Someone who tried desperately to hide the broken fragments of glass that would reveal the culprit's identity. And someone who abused the ship's emergency stop procedure in order to lock a door. All told, a busy night.
But... I don't know about any of this. I'm just a little girl. It wasn't her. She, because she got on the ship on the night of the murder. It had to have been one of the crew. You like to speak with your long English words and explain your clever ideas.
But I am sailor, and sailors don't listen to long boring stories. We don't believe. Sailors like me, we trust only what we see with our eyes.
A laudable trait.
What?
I am quite of the same disposition, my good man.
Observation to me is everything. Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, yes?
Do you hear it? That accusatory cry of guilt on the wind.
What accusatory cry of guilt? Sorry, you've lost me.
Proof of involvement, man. But you can't hear such a call with your ears. No, you must hear it with your eyes. For observation is the base of all deduction.
What are you
talking about?
Another deduction?
I believe the time has come for one final logic and reasoning spectacular. The truth. To expose the truth.
Yes, it's time!
So, Mr. Naruhodo, your assistance, if you please.
With what exactly, Mr. Sholmes?
With observation, my dear fellow, just as I said, of these two prevaricators.
Observation? Sorry. If you remember, Mr. Naruhodo, we know that somebody tried to fabricate evidence, don't we? By tampering with the scene of Mr. Sogi's death. What we're looking for is some trace of evidence that one of these two was there when it happened.
Precisely. You are delightfully quick to grasp my meaning.
Alright, I'll see what I can see. So we're looking for a trace of evidence that shows someone else was there last night when Kazuma died. What suggests someone was there at the scene of the crime? Oh!
Yes!
Seaman Stroganoff. You seem to have quite a large purple stain on the back of your white uniform there.
Ugh!
Ah, yes, I don't know where the dirt comes from. That's not dirt, that's ink.
So nothing in particular comes to mind about the stain?
What are you trying to say?
It would appear the significance of the stain has escaped your attention, Seaman. Allow us to make it plain.
It's a very large purple stain on the back of Seaman Stroganoff's uniform. And I think what made it is clear.
Indeed it is. So, Mr. Naruhodo, present the evidence that proves it.
My pleasure. Alright then, the evidence that proves what the stain on the back of Seaman Stroganoff's uniform really is... wait. Spilled ink?
Yes!
Yes, it's this photograph, and the ink it shows. It's what caused the stain on your uniform.
Ink? A rather unusual color of ink. Purple.
Oh!
Ah, the penny drops. At last. Now you see the significance. The Russian word on the floor next to the victim's body was written in purple ink. And the stain on the back of the uniform is ink of the exactly same color. If the ink had been dry, it couldn't possibly have stained your uniform in that way. Which means... you must have been present at the cabin, in the moments immediately after the ink was split. Alright, yes. It was me. I did it. Everything. I arranged everything in Dead Student's cabin to make it look like Wardrobe Man did it. Then I pressed button to make Bolia do emergency stop and bolt cabin door shut. I did everything so no one should suspect our angel.
Biff, please.
Don't worry, Angel. Let me do talking. It was after 1 in the morning. I was on duty patrolling passageway. Then our angel came to me. She was white like sheet.
Biff, please, you must help me.
I went with her. The door to cabin number 1 was open. When I looked inside, I saw student boy on floor. What happened here?
Please, don't tell anyone. My little one, my little furry friend. So he did trip over the cat!
Everything that happened in cabin is like Angel told you. The kitten escaped.
The kitten escaped through the ventilator into Mr. Sogi's cabin. Then he tripped over it and broke his neck when he fell to the floor. That's seriously...
Yes, that is right.
No one's at fault here. It really was an accident. God damn. So after the incident when the cat ran away, Miss Pavlova then visited the cabin next to hers.
Only to find its occupant lying lifeless on the floor. She said she was worried when she heard sound of something fall on the floor. That's when she went to look. No, Angel? The door was not locked, so she opened to look, and you already know what happened after.
There's just one thing. If you wouldn't mind...
What?
When you went to Mr. Asogi's cabin, Miss Pavlova, was he already dead? Why?
I already told you. When Nina opened our student's cabin and looked inside.
I was asking Miss Pavlova. Well, Miss Pavlova? Oh. Yes, that is right. I saw him. It was dark, and he was wearing black, but he was on the floor, not moving. I was scared. I understand, and I believe you. So is that finally it now? Have we discovered the real truth about Cosmo's death at last?
Ah, something very nearly slipped my mind.
Oh? Mr. Sholmes?
This photograph? Yes, I took this myself, you know. The cause of death was a broken neck. Therefore, the victim died instantly. And the unfortunate incident that precipitated these events, a kitten on which the victim stumbled. However, if those are the facts, there is one particular area in this photograph that seems to me somewhat unnatural. What do you mean, unnatural? What are your thoughts on the matter, Mr. Naruhodo?
Oh, well... Oh, he's gonna have to... If Cosmo tripped and fell and by some terrible stroke of bad luck broke his neck, which part of this photograph print seems unnatural? If he tripped and broke his neck... Wait a minute. Nope, headband's... I thought his headband fell off. If he tripped and fell... There's no marks or anywhere on his... So, could it be this? It must be here. Sure. Damn it. Oh, fuck. Wait, what?
You look like the sort of fellow.
Oh. What? Come on, let me give you another shot. Finally. Yeah, why is his other arm like that?
Yes!
Alright, if he really fell due to an unfortunate accident, then this fist just doesn't seem quite right.
The exact same thought occurred to me. In a fall, one's instinct is to open the palms flat. Yet here we see the victim with his left hand tightly balled into a fist. Almost, you might say, as though he were gripping something.
Huh. What do you mean? What was in his hand?
Simply that I took the liberty
Surprise evidence.
of investigating the victim's fist a short while ago.
You did?
And what, pray, do you imagine I found there, my dear fellow?
Mr. Sholmes, show us, please.
Why, of course, my dear madam. Would I keep you in suspense?
Come on. What?
This is what I found.
Oh, a crescent moon with a little gemstone in the middle. Is that Sailor Moon's wand? Yes, you're right. A crescent moon. It's very pretty, but what does it tell us? It tells us nothing. I'm not so sure. That crescent moon looks familiar somehow. I'm sure I've seen it somewhere before.
Observation, Mr. Naruhodo. That is the key.
What?
The truth is now tantalizingly close.
How did that crescent moon come to be in Kazuma's clenched fist?
This is the final clue, the last piece of the puzzle. Ask yourself, what does this little crescent moon mean? What significance has it? And observe, find the answer with your own eyes.
Right ear. Aha! Left ear.
Yes!
Miss Pavlova, on your ear there, I see you have a crescent moon as well. Ah. What? And on your other ear, there seems to be a crescent moon missing. The little link holding onto it must have broken, I suppose.
Now, the missing crescent moon was found in the victim's clenched fist. Clearly, there is only one logical conclusion. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo?
Yes. Miss Pavlova, Mr. Asogi must have grasped that crescent moon and pulled it from your ear. Perhaps just moments before he fell to the floor. In other words, last night in Mr. Asogi's cabin, you witnessed the moment when you fell with the victim fell with your own eyes. In fact, you were quite literally at arm's length from him. But then the question is, why did Mr. Asogi do that? Why did he pull your ear in from your ear and hold it in his clenched fist during his final moments? Oh no.
Angel.
No one can protect you now. Jesus. Please, Miss Pavlova, tell us the truth. Last night, what did you do to Kazuma?
Ah!
When I think about everything that happened yesterday, it was too much. Running away, the fishing boat in the middle of the night, trying to climb onto this huge ship. And then, when I was at last in this cabin and I could relax after this horrible, long day. Darka, wait! I couldn't believe it when she disappeared through the ventilator. I tried to call her with a little whistle. I tried waving her favorite toy. But nothing worked. Darka would not come back. What are you doing here at this time of night, Inspector? Oh. I'm sorry. I thought it was a friend of mine. The young man from your country, he was very polite and kind. He helped me to find Darka, and he promised not to tell anyone. So then why'd you kill? But then, when I had my friend in my arms again, and I was going to leave the man's cabin... Just a moment. Sorry, but... Oh, yes? I'm sure I know your face. I've seen you somewhere before. Oh, fuck. Ah, of course. You're Nikolina Pavlova, aren't you? The Russian ballerina. No, I don't know that name. My heart nearly stopped when he said that. He knew who I was. How could this man from a land in the faraway east know a Russian ballerina? Yes, I saw your performance in Japan. The beauty of the ballet made a deep impression on me. But what are you doing on this ship? I'm sure I read that your ballet company was performing in Shanghai at the moment. I can't fool him. I have to tell him the truth and hope he doesn't tell me when I have no other choice. I see. So you've run away. Please, please keep my secret. Don't tell anyone! Give me a moment. I could use another opinion here. He's going to pull that cord. He's going to tell the captain! Why did I think I could trust him? Then it happened. Everything at once. It was only a second, but it felt like forever. Wait! I shouted, and then... Darka jumped out of my arms and down to the young man's feet. And... as he turned around to look at me... I pushed him. I don't even know why. I don't know why I did it. I was just so scared. And I had to stop him from telling anyone about me. It was just an unfortunate accident. And that's when he went to fetch help from Seaman Stroganoff, who was on duty out in the passageway. I heard Nina cry out and fell on the floor, so I ran to her. She was standing at the cabin door, shaking like a leaf. She looked at me and said, "Help me, Beth. If I find out, how will be? Please, I have nowhere to go." So you decided to help. And that's when you arranged things in Cosmo's cabin to make it look like I did it. So that no one would suspect the passenger in the cabin next door. Yes. I went into the cabin and I looked around to make sure there was nothing to show Nino's there. And then I found Stowaway. In wardrobe, still sleeping. Right, that's when he found me. So you worked out a plan to lay the blame on the Stowaway. Yeah. Well, who would the police believe? A stowaway or a beautiful Russian ballerina? I closed wardrobe doors and put back strange paper sign. Luckily for me, that's the only reason Susato-san started to believe me when I said that I was innocent. I dragged young man's body to good place and used ink that was spilling to write on floor. I wrote wardrobe so that the person who found him would look inside the wardrobe and find Stowaway. And tell me, what of the glass bell? It was by my feet, so I picked it up. I see. But it was dark in the cabin. I didn't notice the other half. An angel went back to her cabin, and I finished job. By pressing the emergency alarm button in the passageway? Yes. Accordingly, the SS Borea did indeed come to an emergency halt at a little after 2 a.m., thus enticing the bolt on the cabin door to slide shut, creating the locked room mystery. There's still one thing I don't understand, Miss Pavlova. What? Well, you said that you told Cosmo about the fact that you'd run away from your homeland. And it's because you were worried he was going to tell the captain that you pushed him. Isn't that right? Yes. But even if you had pulled the bell cord and called for the captain of the ship, aren't you friends with every member of the crew? Why would that have been a problem? It was what he said first that made me scared. What he said first? What are you doing here at this time of night, Inspector? Oh. Oh. I'm sorry. I thought it was a friend of mine. The Inspector. He said an inspector was his friend. Ah, yes, meaning me. Who was supposed to be acting as his bodyguard. I thought that if police knew about me, they would arrest me. So before he could pull the bell cord, May I stop you a moment, please, Miss Pavlova? It just doesn't seem to make sense. I mean, was Mr. Asogi really going to pull the bell cord? I don't know. What? What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? He was going to consult you. Well, I'm not Cosmo, so I can't know for certain. But he was a man of his word. If he told you he wouldn't give your secret away, then he wouldn't have done. No, he was walking over to it. He was going to pull the cord. He was going to make them send me back.
Well, Mr. Naruhodo, the day's work is not yet done, it seems. There is one more deduction to make.
What? Another deduction?
Yes. What action was the victim really about to take at that moment? Can we determine whether the young man's gaze was directed? First, consider the victim's location within this cabin.
That's easy. I remember every detail of that room. I mean, yes, I spent quite a lot of time in the wardrobe, but still. That cabin has been my home for this entire voyage. So this is how the cabin looked last night when Miss Pavlova visited Kazuma-sama? Yes, it's exactly how it was.
Are you ready then, Mr. Naruhodo?
Yes. If there's one thing I've learned today, it's that a simple gaze can reveal all manner of truths. And not only that, in order to draw the right conclusion, you can't afford to be out by even a little bit when you're following the gaze to where it lands. So, when he turned away from Miss Pavlova, what exactly was Cosmo looking at? Wardrobe. Considering everything that had happened last night, certainly it may have looked as though Cosmo was going to ring the bell cord. Yes, however,
what is directly beside the bell cord? The wardrobe.
The wardrobe?
And, more importantly, what was inside the wardrobe? The man's great friend, sleeping soundly.
Miss Pavlova, please, think back very carefully. What were Mr. Asogi's exact words last night? Give me a moment. I could use another opinion here. Another opinion?
Yes, but not from a member of the crew. No, Mr. Asogi intended to consult his close friend on the matter. To see if, between them, they might be able to help in some way, no doubt.
Oh, no. Sadly, we can't know the truth for certain now. It's too late for that. I wish you had made sure of what Mr. Asogi was looking at. Things may have ended very differently if you had. Miss Pavlova, I want to thank you for finally admitting the truth. But, unfortunately, the truth is, a man lost his life because of what you did. And that will never change. I hope you'll never forget that. I'm sorry. Really? I'm so sorry. What have I done? Oh no. And so, at long last, the mystery surrounding the tragic accident on the Vesperia was finally laid to rest. Still anticlimactic, he died because of a misunderstanding. What will happen to Miss Pavlova now, then? Once we reach Great Britain, she'll be handed over to the British police at Scotland Yard. What about the fact that she ran away from Russia? Won't the Russians try to repatriate her? Apparently, the English detective can speak to the immigration office and I'll sort all of that out. Mr. Sholmes can do that? So she won't be going back to Russia then? It's not a total downer. No, I don't think so. Even if she wanted to return in the future, I doubt she would be able to. She ran away, so now she's in exile for life. I see. I'm sorry. Seaman Stroganoff? I wanted to help our angel, no matter what. But I didn't think about how you lost a good friend. I will go with Nina. I will give myself to British police. That's kind of you. Oh. In the meantime, thank you for letting me go free again. Cosmo's death feels like such a waste. But... well, do what you can for Miss Pavlova, won't you? Duh. Still, what's more relatable than immigrating to another country and spending your first years in that country in jail? Sorry if that hit too close to home. Well, I'm afraid you need to pack now. We're due to arrive in Hong Kong tomorrow, as much as it pains me. I'm going to have to hand you over to the consul to arrange your passage back to Japan. God damn it! Yes. I did stow away after all. Couldn't really expect any different. So, you should get back to your cabin now. It looks like my study tour to Great Britain is over before it's even begun, then. To think that only days ago, Cosmo and I were laughing together about how we tear up the streets of London. That seems like a distant memory now. Oh, what's that? Is it someone weeping? Oh. Sato-san? Alright, she was his assistant. Naruhodo-san, I didn't know you had returned. Oh, well, I haven't been back long. Inspector Hosonaga just told me I should pack. You know, ready to leave the ship tomorrow and all that. I still can't believe this had happened. I can't believe someone's life can be over just like that. Suzato-san. He had such grand ideas for his visit to Great Britain. So many dreams. And now they've been cruelly taken away, just as he has. I thought I could never forgive the person responsible. But now we know the truth. That was just an accident. Just a silly series of mishaps. Yes, I know. I wish there was something I could say. Oh wait, Hosonaga. Inspector. My duty was to see Asogi-san safely to Great Britain. But I failed, and caused his two closest friends great pain and suffering as a result. I've let everyone down. And I will do anything to make up for my terrible blunder. Nobody blames you, Inspector. And I'm free again now, Ha! Ha 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 ha! You fucker. Surprised, Mr. Naruhodo. What is the meaning of this? Oh, a trifling matter.
Simply that in my head, I think I shall always picture you wearing those shackles.
Kinky.
Without them, the balance seems all wrong. It's distracting.
Sorry.
So I decided to restore them. For old time's sake, shall we say? You are a stowaway, after all. Ha 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 ha.
He thinks this is funny. Mr. Sholmes. We do appreciate all your assistance. I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Not at all, not at all. And though it's a little late, may I offer my sincere condolences? The loss of your companion is truly heartrending. I hope that you will be able to fulfill some of his aspirations in his honor.
I'm afraid that won't be possible. We shall be disembarking at the next port in Hong Kong. We have to return to Japan and make a full report about everything that's happened. What? Wait a minute. It's just me that has to go back, isn't it? I mean, I was the stowaway. The terms of this study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice in both Great Britain and Japan. It was to be 1 lawyer and 1 assistant. Was to be. In the light of Mr. Sogi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead. Oh no, I don't care for me, but... Poor Susato-san.
My dear fellows, the majority of problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is 1 lawyer, and the study tour can continue, surely.
But there's no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer.
Qualifications, you say? Any qualifications obtained in your own country will be of little value in Great Britain, I'm afraid.
Oh, but...
But anyway, the voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer.
Wait, this voyage takes a month? Damn. Yes. Miss Susato. Yes? Do you think perhaps I might be able to do it? But you're not a lawyer, Mr. Naruhodo. How hard can it be? Oh, unless... Are you studying law? No, I'm not, but... I'm sorry. In that case, I don't think there's even a chance it could work.
But as I said, there is still more than a month before we reach England's shores. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo?
Can you really, like, study law and pass the bar exam in a month? Yes, I have a month in which to study, to learn what I must to become a lawyer in Great Britain. Mr. Naruhodo, that's ridiculous. Are you seriously suggesting anybody could learn all of that in just 40 days? There's only one way to find out. I would work my fingers to the bone, Inspector, every single day. Will you let me try? And if, by the time we reach Great Britain, I haven't learned enough to be recognized as a lawyer, I'll take whatever punishment is deemed appropriate. But why put yourself in such a difficult position? For Kazuma, he said that there was something he had to do in Great Britain, and that he would sacrifice anything to make it happen. He was passionate about it. I can't let all that passion just come to nothing. And anyway, it's for my own benefit, too. I will become a lawyer. I have to. What do you say, Miss Susato? I think it's a wonderful idea. Thank you.
So, what does our bespectacled inspector friend say?
Are you serious?
I'm never serious. 1 lawyer and 1 assistant. The numbers are indisputable.
No, it's madness.
Yet fascinating, wouldn't you agree?
Fascinating.
Duty and rules are the dull routine of exercise that we all abhor. Give us interest. Give us fascination.
Speak for yourself. I'm autistic and ADHD. I need a specific schedule for things, but I also need spontaneousness in my life, so...
Besides, qualifications are no measure for man. What matters is his character, no? And you've witnessed ample evidence of this man's exemplary character today with your own eyes. From the early hours of this morning until this very moment now. Despite contending with the passing of his close companion, and despite the accusation of guilt, this man has shown resourcefulness, intelligence, and above all, courage.
Very well. I'll think of a clever way to award my report to the Department of Justice.
Inspector!
After all... Oh, sorry. Inspector! After all, I did just make a promise, didn't I? I said that I'd do anything at all to make up for my shortcomings here. Oh, thank you, Inspector! If you'll excuse me, I must pay a visit to the captain's quarters, I think. I need to discuss what to do next and how best to make my reports. Are you really prepared to attempt this, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, I'm going to try. I wonder, would you consider teaching me what I need to know? Everything about being a lawyer? I would be delighted to help you. I am a judicial assistant, after all. Thank you. And, Mr. Naruhodo, I'd like you to take charge of this. What? Me? Are you sure? Hopefully you'll never have to use it. I'm sure it's what Kazuma-sama would have wanted. Its name is Karuma. It's a great sword that's been in the Asogi clan for generations. Very well, I accept. I'll treasure it always. So then, Mr. Sato, it seems we'll be working together for some time to come yet. It will be an honor, Mr. Naruhodo. And for the next 40 days, I shan't grant you a single minute of freedom. We shall fill every spare moment with study. Yes, that's exactly what I need. But, before we begin, I have an earnest favor to ask of you, too. Goodness! What is it? Please throw me to the ground. 3 times! What? I should never have doubted you. You were Kazuma-sama's closest friend. Of course you would never have done anything to hurt him. That should have been obvious to me from the start. Ugh, but I allowed suspicion to get the better of me. And no matter how upset I was feeling, it was completely unforgivable behavior. No, you were in shock. You just found out about me stowing away, and the Commodores locked me inside. No! I won't let you make excuses for me. Whatever the circumstances, I should never have thrown you. And not just once, but 5 times. That number keeps creeping up, doesn't it? It was twice. Please, you must. Just take hold of me and throw me. Do it! Don't even think about it. Oh, no, I don't even know how. I never thrown anyone in my life.
Very wise, Mr. Naruhodo. It isn't a skill one acquires without considerable training.
Oh, Mr. Sholmes.
I observed your throwing technique several times with great interest. I confess I was most impressed.
When did he see that? When he was fucking hanging from the...
I presume that would be a form of Japanese wrestling.
Oh, well, in a way. It's not wrestling, but my own interpretation of an ancient jujutsu technique. Apparently it's called the Suzato takedown. Leaves your head swimming, believe me.
How big I am. I'm a practitioner of the combative arts myself. I'm a somewhat accomplished boxer.
Discombobulate. There he goes, dancing around again.
I wonder if you'd be so kind as to instruct me on the technique of your arrest and throw.
Yes, I'd be honored.
Then let us not dally. Demonstrate, my dear madame.
Oh, of course. Are you ready, Mr. Naruhodo? Sorry? Hiya! As you can see, you throw from the abdomen.
Oh yes, arrested indeed. And that is what you term the Susato takedown, is it?
Actually, no. That was a Susato squash. In my groggy state of consciousness, a scene from an evening recently spent with Cosma flickered into my mind. Sword. Karuma? That's right. It's a prized sword that's been passed down through generations of the Asogi clan. I can't believe you managed to get permission to bring it with you. I mean, taking a katana on a study tour is more than a little irregular, surely. What does katana mean? It means Japanese sword. A Japanese man's sword is his soul, Yunosuke. I can't be parted from my katana. Karuma guides me. I truly believe that. So its name compels its wielder to slice evil in two? Not that you would need much compelling. On that subject, there's something very important that I have to do in Great Britain. And I'll sacrifice anything to make it happen. I'd appreciate you seeing it through with me. Of course I will. Whatever it is, I'll see it through to the end with you. I knew you wouldn't let me down. That important thing he had to do. I still don't know what that was. But I'm going to see the place for myself and work it out. In Great Britain's capital, London. There we go. Nice.